Welcome to the next episode of the Austin Bar Association's Council of Firsts. I'm your host, Amanda Arriaga, Austin Bar President. This podcast is made possible by the Texas Bar Foundation. In today's episode, we talk to Selena Alvarenga, Judge of the 460th District Court. Judge Alvarenga truly has a fascinating background. She came to the United States when she was 13 when she and her father fled the Civil War in El Salvador. She arrived in the United States speaking only Spanish, and when they settled in Alaska, she was one of only 3 Latin American immigrants in her class. She graduated from Our Lady of the Lake University with a bachelor's in business administration and St. Mary's Law School. While in law school, she became a U.S. citizen. She spent her career as a criminal defense attorney, in many cases representing indigent clients, in order to ensure that every person was treated fairly no matter their circumstances. She's the former presiding director of the Austin Criminal Defense Lawyers Association and has served on the board of the Austin Bar LGBTQ Association. She has been an appointee to the Austin Public Safety Commission and active in Habitat for Humanity. Judge Alvarenga can be described in a variety of ways: openly gay, Latina, and an immigrant. While those are interesting descriptors, I think her true legacy will be that she is hardworking, persistent, and a true leader in her field. I am honored to have with me today Judge Alvarenga. Thank you for being with me today.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It's a pleasure to be here today.
I think your background is one of the most interesting that I've seen. And so I typically start with, why did you want to be a lawyer? But I want to know first, how did you get from Alaska to San Antonio?
Well, that can be a very long story, but I will try to...
We have time.
Okay. So yes, I came to the U.S. from El Salvador when I was 13. Initially came in with a visa. Eventually that visa expired. So my father and I were undocumented for quite some time. And that's how eventually we made it to Alaska. It was a place that was remote to where maybe immigration couldn't find us. Eventually, we did have the opportunity to become residents, but that meant that we had to leave the country. Back then, we couldn't go back to El Salvador, so that meant we had to find another country that we could go to. And eventually, we then ended up in Spain. I spent a year in Madrid and traveling through Europe, which was quite interesting. I mean, I enjoyed it. Even though the circumstances that we were going through were not the best, it was nevertheless a great experience, for me to be able to travel to a different continent. Eventually, we received the green card, came back to the U.S. I went to Miami, where I started going to community college. I was working, going to school part-time. My father at that time decided that he was going to move to Texas. He found a job in Texas. He moved to Laredo. So after being in Miami for probably about a year, I was not moving as quickly as my dad would have liked it as far as my schooling was concerned. So he very gently asked me to move to Texas. And so I did. So back in 1989, I moved to Laredo. Was in Laredo for probably another 9 months or so. Again, went to community college over there. And that's when I moved to San Antonio. Not that I didn't like Laredo. I mean, it was a nice place back then. I could go back and forth, go to Mexico and have fun down there. But I wanted to be somewhere, in a bigger city. So San Antonio was the place, and I found Our Lady of the Lake. That happened to be the place where I felt at home, finally. And got my BA from Our Lady of the Lake, and eventually went to St. Mary's University, School of Law, and here we are.
I happen to know Our Lady of the Lake is a great school. That is where my mother went, and she also has a business degree from there.
Well, there you go. Maybe we know each other.
You might know each other. Your paths might have crossed.
Yes.
And so while you were in business school, sounds like you decided to go to law school. which is a path I took as well. What about being at Our Lady of the Lake and studying business made you want to be a lawyer?
Well, ever since I can remember, I wanted to do something where I would help other individuals, where I would be of service somehow. I didn't quite know how that was going to be. I didn't know what that looked like. But when I went to the lake, I started becoming involved in various organizations, that work with towards social justice. And that was when I decided, there has to be something more. There has to be something else that I can do besides going into business or working in the business world. And that's when I started thinking, law school. That is going to be my path. And it wasn't until probably my junior year in college that I decided that I was going to take that path. Took the LSAT, started applying to different places, and eventually I got admitted to St. Mary's School of Law.
And did you always know that you wanted to specialize in criminal defense?
Not really. At the moment, when I was at St. Mary's School of Law, I did the immigration clinic. Obviously, that was, I didn't have to think twice about doing that. So really, when I got my bar card, immediately I hung up my shingle. I started working on my own. And I started doing really anything that would come through the door, but I started doing a little bit more of immigration. And then a friend of mine at the time asked me, why don't you go on and start doing court-appointed cases in the criminal court? I'm like, I don't know that I want to do criminal defense. But I did. I went and gave it a shot. And immediately I fell in love with criminal law and started practicing criminal defense, mainly indigent defense. And that was probably one of the most rewarding things that I have done in my career. So much so that I spent 20 plus years doing that, handling all types of cases and mainly working with, the immigrant community. So in a way, that was the immigration and the criminal law became intertwined, and I was in a way able to do both. And I did it for 2 decades.
It's my impression that people that do criminal defense take it very personally. So it must lead to stress. All of the cases that you've had, the ones that went well for you, the ones that didn't go so well for your client. How do you manage that stress of the 20 years of cases you've worked on?
Yeah, that is a challenge. Let's put it that way. And the stress continues to be there now. It hasn't gone away. And how I deal with it, really, it changes from day to day. It just depends. I think as lawyers, we know that the law in general, it's very consuming. And it can literally take over your life if you let it. So it's really important that we do something to take care of ourselves, to take care of our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, and take that time away from the books and thinking about our cases, right? Because I know, we all have had that experience where we wake up in the middle of the night thinking about a case, thinking about a client, thinking about, something that's going on. And it can definitely take its toll. How I deal with it, I try to find times just to myself. I am definitely an introvert, so I need that time to be by myself and just take care of myself. And it can be by doing something, some physical activity, going out for a long walk, doing some yoga. Sometimes I try to, and I emphasize try, to meditate, even if it just means sitting there, and just trying to let my thoughts just go by, and even if it's 5 minutes. But I think that helps. And then most definitely for me, music. That's my outlet. Whether it be listening to music, whether it be, listen to the radio or going to a concert, playing, that's my definite outlet.
And I know you sing in the church choir.
I do. I've been with the Spanish choir at St. Mary's Cathedral. So yeah, I have been there for quite some time now.
Well, I'll have to recruit you the next time that we do Bar and Grill. Because I read that you're an alto.
I do.
And I always feel like altos need more love. We don't get the exciting melodies sometimes.
Yes. Yes. Are you an alto?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well.
Yes, I am, apparently. And that's how I know that we don't always get the cool parts.
Yes.
So join Bar and Grill and I'll pick cool songs for us.
There we go. Definitely would love that.
So, Judge, in 2021, you made history when you became the first openly gay Latina immigrant to be elected as judge. There are some narrow-minded people who might think that any of those words would be a barrier to becoming elected, but it wasn't true for you. So how is it that we were able to have all of these descriptors and have you still be elected as judge?
Well, I still, it's very surreal to me still that I was elected back in 2020. Prior to that, I was not involved in politics. I was involved in other things. I was involved in, again, going back, to groups that engaged in social justice and criminal justice reform and all that, but not necessarily politics. So when I decided to run, for some people, I came out of nowhere, which I did. And I remember the first time that I went and spoke at one of the local Democratic clubs. And I said, I am an openly gay Latina immigrant, and I am running for judge. And I didn't know how people were going to take it. I didn't know what to expect. And no one said anything, good or bad. It was just a non-issue, it seemed. And thankfully, throughout the campaign, I never ran into any problems with anyone saying you shouldn't run because you're gay or because you're an immigrant. So I think that here in Travis County, we're pretty fortunate, that people are very open to diversity. And it is true that we made history because up to that point, yes, we did have Latinas on the bench, but we didn't have anyone that had been actually born in a different country. We didn't have any openly gay judges on the bench. So that was a big step, and it just showed that our community was ready for something, for a new perspective, for something different. That our community was ready for someone that could see things in a different way. So.
And I don't know that you would be willing to take credit, but since that time, we now have another immigrant that has been elected to be a judge and another openly gay female that has been elected to be judge. So I don't know if you are willing to take credit for opening the doors for those two people, but maybe you should.
Well, I don't know that I would take credit for it, but I do hope that my campaign inspire others to to say, yes, this is something that we can do. I think at the end of the day, if other people can look at what I'm doing and say, hey, I look like her. I have similar backgrounds to her, and I can be in that place. I think that's amazing. But no, I don't. I don't think I would take credit for it. It's just something that I happen to be in the right place at the right time, I think.
Well, I also think it's interesting that since you don't have a political background, that it's also sort of an inspiration to say, I've been doing this work for 20 years, been doing great work representing, doing criminal defense, and I want to be judge. And I think that I am able to run for judge even if I haven't talked to the people and gotten the right feedback and the endorsements. I think that's also a great message too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, it was great getting all the grassroots reports. That was amazing. Having that backing. It was it was daunting. I mean, going in there, not knowing what the political landscape looked like, and not knowing all the people that you were supposed to go and meet with and make friends with in one way or another. But I went in there knowing that I had the experience for the position that I was seeking. I had been a trial attorney for over 2 decades, so I knew what I was doing. The politics aside, that was just something that I had to deal with, that I had to learn to deal with, and up to this day, truly, I am still learning how to deal with.
Well, and it must be equally daunting being an introvert,
Mm-hmm.
but from your background, it sounds like you've had to start again a couple of times to go from El Salvador to Alaska to meet new people, to Spain to meet new people, to Miami and to San Antonio.
Mm.
So you might be a little bit more extroverted than you think, but I understand recharging as an introvert.
Yes. Yeah, I've been told that I might be somewhat of an extrovert. I don't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it definitely, I have been put in situations that definitely put me out of my comfort zone many, many times. But I feel that if I am doing it for the right reason, then it's okay.
Of course. So I have noticed an interesting phenomenon. You're the 4th person I've talked to where English was your second language. You were primarily a Spanish speaker while you were in school. Do you think that having that background of being a primary Spanish speaker while you were going to school, that contributed to your work ethic?
I would say yes. Definitely made me have to work harder to get to where I'm at. When I came to the U.S. at 13, I did not speak any English. I remember going to school in L.A., Long Beach, actually. And I was going through ESL, but because there was a large Latino community, a large Mexican community, really English was not a priority. It was not something that I felt that I needed to learn. And it wasn't until I got to Alaska where I was one of 3 Latinos up there, and I had no choice. It was either learn English or flunk out of high school, which certainly was not an option. So yeah, I mean, it definitely made me work hard throughout my entire career. Going to college, it was a different vocabulary that you had to learn. Same thing going to law school, right? I mean, it's not only learning the legal words, which are challenging on their own, but just a completely different language almost. So yeah, it has always been a challenge, but it has always made me work harder.
Do you think it's been a benefit to you, particularly since you represent some of the immigrant population, to be bilingual, both as a lawyer and now as a judge?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, when I was a criminal defense attorney, majority of my clients were Spanish speakers. And yes, I mean, it helps to have someone that you can communicate with, that you know that they will understand you. And now, even being on the bench, the prosecutors in my court, they don't all speak Spanish. I think maybe one speaks a little bit of Spanish. But sometimes, I do speak to the defendants in Spanish, when it's something that doesn't necessarily have to be on the record, obviously. But, if it's just something that I'm trying to find out what's going on, why are you violating your bond conditions? What's going on at home? And I communicate with them in Spanish. And I think that makes a difference when I can do that, and they can see that, oh, yeah, the judge gets me, she knows where I'm coming from.
When I would think, especially if the lawyer doesn't speak Spanish, to even understand what's happening, for you to be able to explain to the defendant, this is what I have decided, this is what's going to happen to you, that must be really helpful for that person.
Yes, because I mean, especially when you're dealing with felony offenses, I mean, these individuals are looking at long possible sentences, right? And I mean, if they don't know everything that's going on, if they don't have someone that can communicate with them in a way that they can understand, I mean, not only are they dealing with the nightmare of having to go through the criminal justice system, but then also not even understanding what's happening, So yeah, I mean, I definitely being bilingual and being able to communicate that way certainly helps.
Judge, what are some organizations that mean the most to you, either professionally or personally?
So right now, professionally, and I think personally as well, the Travis County Sovereign Center. I am currently on the board, have been on the board for going on my third year. And, the work that they do in diverting individuals from jail and giving them resources so that they can work on dependency issues, with whether it be alcohol or drugs, it's so amazing. I mean, they have helped so many individuals since their inception that, it's just great. We regularly get emails from the staff sharing with us what people that have received their services say about how it has changed their lives, and how they have gone from not knowing how to deal with their dependency to now having, a completely new life and trying to do better of themselves. So definitely that would be one of my top organizations. In the past, I have worked with other organizations like Habitat for Humanity. That's a big one. I think it's so important for individuals, for families to be able to have access to housing. And Habitat does a great job, in helping individuals reach that goal of having their own home. Being able to actually go and physically work on building your home. I have done a couple of builds, and it's just probably one of the most amazing things to be able to do.
Judge, since you've done so much throughout your career, where would you recommend that people look if they want to get involved in the community?
Well, I would say the first thing, find something that you're passionate about. Find something that you care about. And once you make that decision, I mean, there's so many opportunities out there in our community. If you are looking to get involved more in the governmental area, the city of Austin has a large number of commissions that deal with many different areas, ranging from public safety. I served in the Public Safety Commission prior to becoming a judge, and that was an amazing experience. Just because I got to see how our city government deals with our safety in general, what's being done to ensure that our community is safe right now. And, but there are many other commissions through the city of Austin. Outside of that, there are so many nonprofit organizations, whether it be animal welfare. I mean, I love animals, so that's top priority for me. Whether it be helping the environment, there's so many things that you can find if you just look online, look on Facebook,
Do you think that getting this inside baseball look with your work on the Public Safety Commission helps you as a judge?
I think so. I mean, sometimes I can better understand why things happen the way that they happen, why things don't happen the way that they should happen. So yeah, I think it gives me a little bit of background that I can use when looking at the cases that I look at now.
Well, I think your background in general appears to me like it makes you the perfect judge, especially for criminal. You've had this experience where you were almost a fugitive when you went to Alaska, hoping they wouldn't find you, to representing folks as an immigration clinic, to being a criminal defense attorney. So I appreciate all of your background and your public service as a judge. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you, Amanda, for that.
And thank you for being with us here today.
Of course. It's been my pleasure.
And thank all of you, and we will see you next time. Thanks.